Welcome to Good to Great Cooking today. This is Lisa, your host, and today we are going to be making Heavenly Hash Candy. So Heavenly Hash Candy it's an old-fashioned candy bar with chocolate, marshmallows, and marshmallow cream and pecans in it. It is my mother's favorite recipe, so I figured out how to make it because it's very difficult to find now. It used to be sold in high-end department stores when they would have a candy section, usually in the basement. That's where she always got it, but they no longer have it there at the store that is now called Macy's. It used to be Famous Bar back in the day, and that's where she would get her Heavenly Hash Candy. So I figured out how to make it for her, and I'm going to show you how to make it today. So as far as ingredients, we've got marshmallows that we're going to turn into a marshmallow cream, pecans, butter flavored shortening, and then we have chocolate bars. I use the semi-sweet chocolate bars for this recipe because this marshmallow is going to be so sweet that I don't want to use milk chocolate. It would just be too sweet and just cloyingly sweet, and that wouldn't be very good. So as far as equipment, you're going to need candy molds, which this is the one that I'm using this time. And that's going to make a pretty good size bar for this. So I'm imagining that each one of these is going to be a 2-serving candy bar because it's thick and this is pretty long. So I will need a bowl for melting the chocolate. I'll need a saucepan, for creating the marshmallow cream, and then I need a spoon and some measuring spoons. So let's go ahead. We'll get started making Heavenly Hash today. In order to make Heavenly Hash, the first thing I've got to do is get some melted chocolate to create the outer shell. So I'm going to start with these 3 semi-sweet chocolate bars. I'm going to add in a teaspoon of the butter flavored shortening and melt it in the microwave. When you're doing this technique, you're doing at a low power on your microwave, 30 seconds at a time, and stirring it after each 30 seconds just until it is melted. You don't want this to boil. You don't want this to go too far and be burnt or seized up. So let's go ahead and get started with this. Now we're ready to head to the microwave. A couple of items I forgot to mention from an equipment standpoint are your ice cream scoop and a brush for getting the mold, getting the chocolate all on the sides of the mold. So I'm going to show you how I do this with the ice cream scoop and a brush. So I'm just going to get, and this mold looks like it can take a full scoop. So I'm going to lay that in there like that. Then I will take the brush and just pull it up on the sides so it covers the sides. Because when you sit this is going to sit in the refrigerator for a little while to solidify again. And what you're creating is just a shell for you to put the filling in. Okay, and based on this one, it's looking like I could probably do a half of a scoop. I probably don't need this much chocolate to create the shell. But that's okay. It's not going to hurt that there's a little bit extra in this one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the rest of the molds filled with chocolate, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next. Now I have all of the shells of my mold filled with chocolate, and I'm going to store it so that in the refrigerator so it can solidify and become a shell for the filling, the marshmallow and pecan filling. So here's what I'm going to do that. I've got a little, I guess this is called a quarter sheet pan. I put a piece of wax paper down, and I am going to flip this way and then put it in the refrigerator. The reason it's flipped upside down is because what I want is for that chocolate to run down the sides and create the shell, making sure all sides are covered. If you make this recipe and you put the marshmallow in and everything isn't covered, it will be very difficult to get it out of the mold because that marshmallow is very sticky. Plus, it makes it easier to eat if everything's covered with marshmallow, because then you don't have marshmallow all over your hands and making a big mess. So this is going to go in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours to let it set up and get really, really cold. In the meantime, I'm going to make the marshmallow cream. To make the marshmallow fluff for the filling on the Heavenly Hash, you're going to need a 12-ounce bag of marshmallows, a stick of butter, and just a little bit of vanilla extract, or I am going to use vanilla bean paste. I just like the paste a little bit better. But if what you have is extract, that is perfectly fine, as long as it is real vanilla and not an imitation. The imitation vanilla has a really weird chemical taste to it, and you don't want that in your food. Equipment wise, I'm using a large skillet, stainless steel skillet. I need my spoon to stir, and then I just need a measuring spoon for the vanilla. The reason I use a skillet for this recipe is because I want that more surface than what I would get inside of a saucepan or a pot, because I want the marshmallows to be able to lay almost in like a single layer inside the skillet so that it can melt slowly and evenly. If I don't do that, and I put it in a pot and I've got marshmallows stacked on top, the ones on top are going to be melting a lot slower. And then I have to worry about the ones that are on the bottom burning a little bit. So to avoid all of that, I just use a skillet, and then they can spread out and I get a nice, even, slow melt. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Your first step is going to be to get your stick of butter in the skillet and melt it slowly. So I'm going to do about medium heat for this. Once your butter's melted down and you've got enough butter in the skillet to cover the entire bottom so that every marshmallow gets butter underneath it, you can go ahead and put your marshmallows in. As I mentioned, I want them to, just kind of lay pretty much in a single layer. That way every marshmallow is getting melted at the same time. Now this process is a bit slow and it's a bit tedious because you just want to make sure you're getting butter everywhere. Once your marshmallows and butter are all melted together, you want to add 1 teaspoon of your vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste. It's been a couple of hours. This is what the chocolate looks like inside the shell now. So let's get the marshmallow in here. Okay. Now you see you've got the marshmallow cream in there. That marshmallow cream is hot. So what's happening is that it's warming that chocolate back up. So I want to work fast so that it doesn't melt through and I don't have a mess on the bottom of my candy trays. The next step is adding the pecans. So I'm just going to, got my pecans here, and I'm going to do this by hand. This isn't, anything precise or whatever. So you're just going to spread them out a little bit. Make sure they cover much of the surface. Now I'm going to put it back in the refrigerator just for a little bit. I want that marshmallow to cool off so that when I put the top bit of chocolate on there, it doesn't just melt right away, but it creates basically the closing of the candy bar. So back to the fridge we go. The Heavenly Hash candy bars are ready for their last coat of chocolate on the top. So I've got my chocolate in a piping bag here, and I am going to just get started. Okay, once you have them all covered, you just want to give them a little bit of a shake. Get that chocolate all over the top. Because then it's going back in the fridge, as you can imagine, just to let it set up. And then we'll be all ready to take it out of the mold. The Heavenly Hash candy is ready to be demolded from the candy mold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very carefully see if I can pull these sides back. They seem to be moving okay. So once I loosen all of the sides, I just push like that, and hopefully it comes out, yay, comes out clean like this. So this is one of the Heavenly Hash candy bars. I'm going to, get this all off of here before I package it up into my cute little Valentine's Day bags right here. And then this will be ready to be shipped off.